So we're going to be getting into. I was talking about the Doom multiplayer and how it necessarily wasn't the greatest experience. It was good, but it's not something that would keep me entertained. Dom, you had something to say about multiplayer games?
More than something to say about it, actually. I'm gonna slide my pants down and take a big old
What?
dump on
Okay.
multiplayer games.
Okay.
That's
Multiplayer only or
today's
just
metaphor.
multiplayer in general?
Just multiplayer games in general, specifically with the release of Overwatch. Um, I just it's been making me think a lot about multiplayer gaming and how much I don't like it for a variety of reasons, and I itemized them here. So the first flaw to me is you have to get the game when it's released, and you have to sink time into it during those first few weeks, especially. I mean, if you want to be relevant and have fun, and have a good time and not get completely shredded every time you play, you have to not only be there on release, but giving a lot of time. Because otherwise, I mean, it's really easy to get left behind. Especially in a game like Overwatch. I could imagine, if I were to try to play that, even now or a week from now, I'd probably be so far behind, under leveled, and everyone else would be so used to it that I just would not have a good time, even if it's a great game. Um, so besides that, to me, it's also a kind of gaming that really requires you to play with friends. Playing a multiplayer game on your own is kind of, I don't think that's the way it should be done, right? Because you're talking to random people, if anyone at all. Plus, you might end up going up against a team of friends who are going to absolutely destroy your team if you don't know each other. And it's hard to have a group of friends all interested in owning the same console and the same game with the same schedules. To get that to sync up is really difficult.
Around the same level.
Exactly. For most adults, it's not really feasible. Because I remember in high school and middle school, like I played Call of Duty like nonstop with my friends because that was possible for me at the time. But so it definitely only serves to some demographics as opposed to others. And then also it's a game, it's a style of gaming that like you really have to be good at as well. Because even if I did spend all the time I needed, I'm not very good, admittedly, at multiplayer games. I used to be pretty good at Call of Duty, but maybe I'm just getting older and my hand-eye coordination's deteriorating. But
You beat Dark Souls, so I mean.
See, but to me, it's different because that's a single-player game that you can play at your pace and get good at it at your own pace. And while it is difficult and frustrating, it's in a different kind of way where it teaches you, and through its difficulty, it teaches you to get better at it. Whereas multiplayer gaming doesn't really do that. A lot of games would just slam you on your ass and then spit on you and then over and over again because you're underleveled and you're just not as good as everyone. It's just, and of course, maybe if I was better at multiplayer games, I'd be singing a different song, but that's just kind of how I feel. And then the last piece is to have the most fun too. You also kind of have to have like this level of compete when you're playing, which when I play a game, that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm a very competitive guy, like in a lot of other areas of my life, right? But that's not what I'm looking for when I go to play a game. Again, Dark Souls, little different. I don't think it's quite a pure analogy because that game's also really challenging and it's stressful, but it's in a much more rewarding way to me, to where like I like competing in Dark Souls. It's much different than a multiplayer game. So that's just a handful of gripes that I gathered on multiplayer gaming. And again, that's a lot of it is personal to me, right?
I have quite a bit to say, so hear me out. And this revolves a lot around Overwatch, surprisingly enough, as everything and everything.
Put your seatbelt on, Dom. We're going for a drive.
So, first of all, you have to appreciate Overwatch over other games when they do multiplayer for one simple fact. The multiplayer is the primary component. The problem is people get
the
super
only
invested.
component.
Yeah, well, the thing is people get super involved into Uncharted, for instance. There's other games I can name, Doom. People get super involved into those multiplayers. Those multiplayers won't last 1/10 of what Overwatch will. You know what I'm saying? People
Overwatch is going to be around for years.
Yeah,
I bet.
People will get super involved in Uncharted 4, and they'll be like the dog in Futurama that's left there by Fry. Like no one's coming back, and they're going to invest so much time in this multiplayer platform where no one plays. Going to your other point of you have to play with random people. Some of the closest friends I've met were random people through Xbox, which means that who's to say I might not meet somebody who's a friend through Xbox again.
You've probably also met 10 times as many assholes online.
Yeah, but when I walk out into the real world, it's the same way.
True. Yeah, no, it's a valid point. It does present the opportunity to meet new people. But
third point.
When you meet assholes in the real world, you know they're Xbox players.
Well, yeah, because we don't have a social system to talk to each other on PlayStation.
That was great.
So, going back to your thing on skill, I have a friend who plays Overwatch who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. But guess what? He doesn't play one of the shooting classes. He plays a healer class where you literally do no damage, but you are a strategic part of the team where you heal your teammates.
That sounds like no fun,
A
though.
lot of people have fun with it. Mercy's actually one of the most popular characters. So maybe the thing is that what you consider fun, you're not good at in a multiplayer game, so it doesn't interest you. And I don't think there's obviously people who play single player only games. There's nothing wrong with that. People who play only multiplayer games, there's nothing wrong with that. It's what you want to get out of a video game. Everybody comes to video games for escapism and what they want to have particularly. But I think that there's a lot that can be great that can be found in multiplayer games. I do agree from an industry standpoint that I think it does hurt the industry when multiplayer only games ship at $60. And this can go into a whole nother conversation of what's exactly worth what. But for me personally, my personal worth, I think that in order for a game to be $60, it has to have at least, I don't know, a campaign. And the multiplayer is cool, but it has to at least have a campaign. And that's to me personally how I feel. Like Overwatch, I love Overwatch. I'm going to buy Overwatch. But if it had a campaign, it would make me a little bit more comfortable paying $60 for that game. The thing that Blizzard has over other companies where people... The thing that bothers me is people are saying... People bash EA for releasing Battlefront and they're okay with Overwatch. First of all, Blizzard hasn't come out and said they didn't make a single-player campaign to make sure it was out in time for the Blizzard movie. Second off, Blizzard has a proven track record of updating games with substantial content. Substantial. Which you can't really say about Battlefront. People comparing these two games just because they're multiplayer only is dumb. I think it's really dumb. People are saying, why are people getting mad at EA when they're not getting mad at Blizzard? I think it's a completely different argument. They're two completely different games. Just because they're both multiplayer doesn't mean anything.
Well, and I think the content that is already in our Overwatch without ever buying DLC is way more substantial.
Well, the thing is that Blizzard usually, if Blizzard charges you for a game, they don't charge you for DLC. Hearthstone is a free-to-play game that you have to buy every bit of DLC. Games that they charge for, a lot of times their DLC is free. They've stated openly that this is going to be a platform where the only payment they ask from people is microtransactions. They're taking the MOBA approach from the sense of we're going to have very often updates and balances for characters, and we're going to introduce new characters, and if you want to spend money on skins or loot boxes, it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to pay money on this.
The problem is the value of the IP of Star Wars is so much higher than the IP of Overwatch. Like one level, like one map in Battlefront is like on the market way more valuable than a level in Overwatch, right? And that's shown by the sales because I think Battlefront sold 14 million copies already, which is absurd considering it's a small game. But that just goes to show that, there's less to it. And so the complaints that it's multiplayer only, just like Overwatch, why did everyone hate? Obviously, there's flaws in that. But I can clear as day see why that is. And that's because, that Star Wars IP is so much more valuable than something Blizzard could put out like that.
And also, Overwatch doesn't have a season pass with the extreme prices that Battlefront did.
Yeah, a season pass that cost almost as much as the game.
You want to buy the actual game, here's a season pass. Also, this is coming from a perspective of neither of you guys really play MOBAs. The thing that sets Overwatch apart from every other MOBA, every single MOBA, usually MOBA games last about 30 minutes. Huge investment of time. Overwatch games usually between 10 and 15 minutes. Call of Duty-esque. On top of that, every time you play a MOBA game, whatever character you pick, you're locked into playing that character for 30 minutes. So it limits strategy. Whatever you're locked in to pick, if the other team outpicks you, because you can have equal skill, but if they have characters that basically shut down your characters, you're going to lose, right? The thing that Overwatch has over every other MOBA is you can change your characters mid-match. It's super dynamic. You can change team comps. There's a lot of strategy involved. Like, this game is doing a lot of things right. The thing too is that's weird is this game is available $40 on PC, and the $60 version is the extras. Why didn't they do this on consoles? Why? Blizzard is trying to get into the console realm and they're doing it the wrong way. You know.
Well, this game is going to have a huge tail on PC. That like this is going to be Team Fortress, Counter-Strike kind of game that 10 years from now there's going to be a huge crowd.
This game is going to have a huge tail end on console as well if the generations are going. You would be surprised how many concurrent players Smite has on console. You would be surprised if League came to console. How obviously that wouldn't work because it's like mouse and keyboard. Blizzard knows how to support their games. They do it in a way that's kind of close to Valve. Look how long Team Fortress 2 has lasted.
Yeah.
Look how long that game has lasted. And obviously it's on PC, so it is different. But there's still people playing Team Fortress on Xbox 360. And you want to know how I know? Because when I had the orange box and I bought it like 3 years after release, I was like, Team Fortress 2, I've never heard of this because I didn't own a PC at the time. People are still playing that game on console. Like, this is a game, I understand, like, you know, multiplayer games don't have a huge tail line on consoles. But this game could be different. It's Blizzard. Like, they know how to do things right. If you've seen the animated shorts, like, they could release a movie and make money. They could, like, I really think that this game is a game changer, but it hurts them so much that they didn't put it out at 40 on the console like they did on the PC. Excuse me.
So, Dom, I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about multiplayer, I wanted to ask you what your feelings are about multiplayer in the Souls games. Specifically, maybe Dark Souls 3.
I mean, it's flawless. It's like as perfect as it could be for that kind of game. Totally optional.
So kind of just like break it down and explain it a little bit for those that don't know.
So, okay, well, I guess I got to step back. So the first aspect of it is you can leave messages. You can get an item, and from a set of words, you can craft a sentence or two and just leave a message on the floor in a level, and other people who are playing simultaneously will see, can walk up to your message and read it. So a lot of people leave tips, for example,
or tricks,
or they're messing with you, which is almost just as clever. But a lot of people leave tips in front of treasure chests that are actually mimics. So the treasure chest that you go to open it, thinking you're going to get some kind of item, and it ends up being a monster that eats you and kills you in one hit. So a lot of people will leave a note in front of these chests, like, liar ahead type of things. And then there's people do a lot of funny things too. So in the original Dark Souls, one of the NPCs was this huge giant goddess lady, and she just had huge boobs with cleavage.
Yeah, so the message was huge chest ahead.
Exactly. So and it's kind of one of those. It's like a Dark Souls moniker kind of thing now. It's just one of those things that the community loves to joke around about. So there's that messaging system, which is really cool. The next part is you can click on people's, I forget what it's called, bloodstains. So you walk along and you press X on a bloodstain, and it shows just kind of like a hologram, like a phantom of that person and how they died in that area. So you can click on someone's hologram, watch their ghost walk forward, and then maybe they sprung a trap. And you could see that, and that, well, now there's a trap there, so you're going to go around type of thing too. Or if they fell off a ledge that you didn't see, stuff like that. But then the core part of the multiplayer is, and it's usually just before boss areas, you can actually summon other players to come into your world and help. So that's like the real chunk of it.
And invading.
Right, and you can also get certain items, and the items aren't the easiest things to get, and you can, they're limited, so you can't be doing it like all willy-nilly. But yeah, you can invade other people's worlds as dark spirits instead of as the light spirits, where you would actually help them. So you can invade and basically go and attack the person and kill them, which it's already a hard enough game, and there's monsters all around you. And then all of a sudden, some red spirit comes in and just whacks you down in 3 hits. And they're always, the invading players are always like the guys who are really good at the game too.
Yeah.
Damn.
And they just make it their job to go and make people's lives miserable. It's such a horrible thing, but it's so much fun. You could also turn off any online features if you didn't want to get invaded.
That's what I was going to ask is, do you think Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, do you think playing it online is an essential part of that experience?
No.
I played Bloodborne offline completely, and I liked it better that way.
It's like DLC, like choosable DLC. Like, it can extend the life of a game. It could also, like, make the game more enjoyable for you. If you've already played through the game and you just want to experience Dark Souls, you can get summoned by people to help them beat bosses. My biggest, like, I love the messaging thing of people being able to like leave messages on the ground to either trick you or, you know, I think that's really cool. My problem is the summoning and invading is 100% hit or miss. It was absolutely terrible in Dark Souls. It rarely worked. A lot of people had issues with it, like being able to be summoned or be able to invade. Like there was a lot of connectivity issues, a lot. I don't know how it was in Dark Souls 2 if they improved it, and I don't know how it is in Dark Souls 3. But in Dark Souls 1, it was very fickle, and I had a friend who also in Dark Souls, and it took us about 3 hours to be able to be quote unquote connected. We both had open NAT types. It was nothing on our end. It was Dark Souls servers or whatever it was. Like, it was very fickle and it was very frustrating. But they probably fixed that in 2 or 3
Yeah, I think I remember the original game had a lot of problems there.
Yeah, they probably
that's
fixed
all pretty much solved. I've heard on PC that a lot of people are getting, you know, invaded by hackers and all sorts of like horrible stuff like that.
PC,
like, shitty.
Yay.
But it never happened to me once.
Yeah,
but I believe it. Apparently, you know, they could hack come into your game with like a hacked item and give it to you as a gift, and then all of a sudden you end up banned because I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on.
If you do end up getting Doom, can you at least try one match of online?
Oh yeah, no, I'll definitely give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know what your impressions on it.
Would you say, how would you recommend playing offline or online for Souls games?
Definitely online. You don't need it. The games are still really good without it, but it's an additive thing that it changes the experience a little bit and it adds a lot to it.
For the better. I think it changes it for the better.
And there's those points where you get to a boss that you've tried like 20 times and you can't beat. Then at that point, you know, fall back and summon someone. And the problem is the bosses kind of get too easy. So when I played Dark Souls 2, because I played the original completely offline by myself, it's way harder that way. Dark Souls 2 came around, and for too many bosses, I ended up like summoning people. And I wish I hadn't, because a lot of the bosses were already kind of easy in that game, and it takes away from what it's supposed to be. Sometimes when you have 3, you can summon up to 2 people for bosses a lot of the time too. So you have like, you know, the boss is aggroed on 1 or 2 of the other guys, so it's easiest thing in the world for you to smack in the back or whatever a couple times, and it takes away from it in that sense if you abuse it. But it definitely can be helpful if there's just, you know, bosses that are absolutely just feeding you your lunch for weeks and you just have nowhere else to turn. It's always there. It's available.
The way I would word it is summoning is something you should be cautious about doing, but I would definitely play online because the messaging and the bloodstains are a crucial part of Dark Souls, a crucial part of the experience.
See, I really enjoyed playing Bloodborne offline because it made it, first of all, scarier. It made it feel like you were going up against, you know, a tougher challenge. And also having those, like, having the phantom, the ghosts of other people and, like, the messages popping up, it was distracting, and it kind of took me out of the experience.
It can be intrusive.
It was
Sometimes
annoying
they're all
to
over
some
the place.
extent.
Yeah.
And you haven't played a Souls game before, right? You played Bloodborne, but you haven't played a Souls game?
True, yeah.
If that's the case, then maybe, your first run-through of Dark Souls, play it offline.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe I would try Dark Souls 2 online. Maybe you are right in the sense of maybe it would be a better experience. But for somebody who's been, like, played through the Dark Souls game, it definitely is something you need to experience at the very least. Maybe not have to do on your first run-through, but definitely an experience you should have. So
there is also a big crowd of people who played PvP in Dark Souls. I never got huge into it. I did for a little bit in Dark Souls 2. But it's really tough. Like, there's such a large variety of weapons, and, you know, all those skills and infusions and all these different things that can factor into everything. It's difficult, and the hitboxes sometimes can be a little shady on certain weapons that you're like, how did you hit me from 3 feet away? And it's because the regular game is so based on, you know, the accuracy of the controls and the distance between you and the enemy. But when you introduce that online component and, you know, lagging connections, it can throw that all off a little bit, and you don't have those, you know, precise controls anymore sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's a multiplayer scenario that I love, as opposed to all the other ones I was complaining about earlier. But
I do like when multiplayer's different and it's, you know, like asynchronous or stuff like that, where it's more creative.
Yeah. But I forgot to mention earlier, and this is all kind of why Battlefront spoke to me and I had so much fun with it, was because of how shallow and friendly it was to people like me who don't want to devote the time and effort into playing that game, right? So like everyone else said, no, this game is empty and shallow and too easy, and I'm like, this is fantastic. It's casual friendly. I can jump in it. I'm not bad at it. Like,
yeah.
So.
All I'm gonna say is I could play Battlefront for 10 hours for free on EA Access, and I haven't used up all my time.
You're missing out.
And it just we're two different type of people that expect two different types of things. So, yeah, I think to just end this conversation, if you hate multiplayer, I don't think Dom hates it. But like, if you dislike multiplayer, that's fine. If you love multiplayer and you only play multiplayer, that's fine. But I would suggest at least trying the other thing that you don't like. Who's saying you're not going to like it? For all you people who buy Call of Duty and never play the campaign, some of them are actually pretty good.
Yeah,
and
it's probably a lot of me just being jealous and bitter that I can't be good at multiplayer games, right? That I don't have the time for it. A lot of my hatred probably stems from that, which isn't really fair. But I mean, it's not fair to make a game that I can't get into either. So I guess you could look
I want every game to be for me. Every single game. Before we hop into what we're going to be playing and we get into the outro and all that, actually, we had a question on... I'm trying to find it real quick. Somebody had a question regarding the graphics card, Dom, and I wanted to get your opinion.
Really?
Let me find it real quick. Sorry about this, guys. It was on a video uploaded this week, I think. Did we talked about it during the news last week, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, the 1080.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it real quick. I think it's this one. I think it's our Red Dead video, I think.
Man.
Here we go, I found it. Okay. So this is from Langsta Gaming. We actually have a couple comments I want to get through real quick. We're running a little long. Langsta says, this graphics card has me intrigued. I have a shit graphics card now. What would you guys recommend I do? Wait for the card that Dom was talking about to get one, or should I get something now that's a little bit more in my price range?
Wait. These things are such a huge jump. It would be like buying an iPhone, like the previous iPhone, the day before the new one comes out. Just wait. They come out next month. I think one of them is already out, actually. And then they're going to have more variations of it coming out and then over the next month. So definitely wait.
Do you think it's worth investing in?
I mean, if you're passionate about gaming and you want to improve the experience, you get while gaming and you have the financial capability to do so, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But you also to get a card this high powered, you also have to be playing on a monitor that's higher resolution than 1080p. I mean, it's not going to be worth it.
So I have a question for you.
At like absurd frame rates of 120, or if you have a higher resolution. Otherwise, it's not really worth it. Then you might as well get something.
What graphics card could he get that could play any game he wanted at a decent experience?
I mean, you wouldn't have to spend more than like $100 really on
okay,
card.
I think that's probably the answer he's looking for. Yeah. Okay.
The scope is really wide as far as how much you can spend.
We have a couple of things here real quick. Comments I wanted to get through real quick too. Tyler Best says, for the record, according to their financial report, there will be a new game by Rockstar, earliest April 2017. I think we said that in the video, but I guess he was just clarifying.
Fact check me, sweet.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. David writes, Dambuster Studios is a small team that made the game, and I'm not going to lie, it's a decent. Not Game of the Year material, but it's all right. I do believe they should fix the game with patches soon, and they did promise free DLCs for co-op for year one.
In reference to?
That's for Homefront
Revolution.
Oh, okay.
It was a bad game, and they needed to fix it and all that stuff. He said they did promise free DLC for co-op, so if that's true, that's awesome. Actually going to our point earlier in the episode about Fallout 3's DLC, Langston also commented, Dom saying, love when a DLC switches a video game up. I don't know if you guys remember Operation Alaska from Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah.
Turned an RPG into basically an FPS.
That was a fun one, yeah, because it did exactly that. Yeah, you're playing Fallout, and all of a sudden you go to this weird army simulation DLC, and you're just, all sorts of shooting going on.
So thank you guys for your comments. We appreciate every comment we get, every like, every share, all that stuff. Real quick, what are we going to be getting into playing this week, guys? I have Quantum Break on the mind. I need to get it beat, so Jordan and I can do a review discussion next week. That's probably what I'm going to be playing. Smite as always. If I somehow get my hands on Overwatch, if I sell my soul to the devil, I might have that as well, so I might be playing that. Pretty much just Quantum Break. If I can get my hands on Overwatch and Smite and possibly some more Trials of Minecraft or something. I'm trying to perfect Minecraft, and I'm one achievement away. It's just a grindy achievement, so... yeah, that's pretty much it. What about you guys?
I'm gonna either keep putzing around in Fahaba, or maybe I'll jump into Doom. I feel like I can't wait. So maybe I'll just push Fallout aside so I can get through Doom really quick. It keeps happening. Like Ratchet came out, I'm like, oh, well, let me get through this and then I'll get back to Dark Souls. And then Uncharted comes out, I'm like, oh, let me get through this and I'll get back to Dark Souls. And now Doom.
But you finished Dark Souls. Get Doom.
Yeah, I finally did catch up and finish Dark Souls. Yeah, but
So-
all the same things happening with Fallout.
Also, come to Control this interest for the worst Bostonian accents you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
Jordan, what are you going to be playing?
What are you talking about?
Mark Wahlberg?
I'm gonna be trying to play some Persona 3 this week because I definitely need to beat that game. But mostly I am, as I said earlier, extremely excited for Witcher 3's final expansion, Blood and Wine. About to take a mighty fine adventure over to the land of Toussaint, where they have a lot of French influence. So
hopefully they pay their interns.
That's a good one. So yeah, it's got it seems like they have kind of like a vampire situation going on. It's called Blood and Wine. So we talked about all the graphical upgrades, and then I saw this guy streaming from his PS4 just talking about all the different things that they're adding to the game through this expansion, and lots of cool stuff, man. Like you can get the one of the suits from Witcher 2. There's new Witcher gear. I mean, they're blowing this thing out of the water. So I am through the roof excited for Blood and Wine.
Awesome. Really quick before we go, I wanted to say thank you to Christian over at Microsoft Studios for sending us the Quantum Break code. That was awesome of him to do. Thank you guys for listening. If you watch this on YouTube, thank you. All the shares, likes, we say this every week, but it really does help. We actually got a new subscriber on YouTube this week. I don't remember his name, but thank you to whoever subscribed. We really appreciate it. Share us. We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. We're on everything. Follow us on Twitter, where we'll eventually get to 50K one day. 50 followers, and we'll be giving away Fallout, Star Wars, The Force Awakens. I don't know what I'm saying right now.
When we hit 50K followers, me and Jordan will both shave our heads.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. Speak for yourself, friend.
And that's within the next week. We'll put that stipulation. Reach 50K in the next week.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. As always, we appreciate it. We'll catch you guys in episode 14, where we'll be doing our E3 predictions. So any closing words, guys?
Well, I just looked to my right, and there's a pile of dog shit. That's good.
Jordan, any closing words?
Witcher 3, Blood and Wine, baby. Here I come. Toussaint.
Play more indie games, guys. Bye.
Thanks again, everyone, for watching and or listening. If you like what you heard, be sure to give those like and subscribe buttons a quick click. Every little contribution can help to make our channel grow. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at CTRLINT. That's Controlled Interest. See you later.